Good day all. Welcome back to a cold, wintry South Africa, and this is South African Prepper. So, I want to talk to you today about water, the key to your survival. Now, quite interestingly, the reason why we as a family many years ago started preparing is that we started seeing and noticing things that was just not right. And maybe this is the farmer inside of myself, because when we farm, you see things, you see how the plants react, you see how the animals react. I have been joked at and laughed at when I taste a leaf, or when I break a leaf open, or when you put your hands in the soil and you smell the soil, and I've even tasted soil before. And this is the reason why we started being preppers and why we started preparing for a collapse in South Africa, is because we started noticing things that were just not right. So for me, I'm a very practical person. I want to give you two examples of how important water is. And this is actually things that actually happened in the last, let's say, a month and a half in South Africa. So there's a big city in South Africa called Pretoria, and two things happened in the city. The one is that one major part of the city of Pretoria, one suburb, and this is maybe one of the more populated areas of Pretoria. Let's call it lower to middle class people that live in gated communities. This whole area went without water for about 4 days. And quite funnily, one of our viewers that are subscribed to this channel actually sent me some footage. And they shared two things that were quite interesting about this 4 days without water. Is number one, the water stores that sold bottled water ran out. He actually showed me pictures of two different stores that only sell water. South Africans would know the brand names if we put it up quite well. So after 2 days, these stores, water stores, actually had notices on out of stock because they had no water left, because everybody went to buy water. And then the second photo he showed me was of a person just on the outskirts of this part of Pretoria. This gentleman had a borehole, and he was giving out water freely to everybody. I do believe that his house pipe is always outside, giving people water whenever they need. But at this specific water point, people were queuing. And they weren't queuing with 1 or 2 liter bottles. They were queuing with, the one photo, the guy had 10-20 liters of water bottles ready to get water. And then another thing that happened, or that is currently happening as we're making this video, is just north of Pretoria there is a cholera outbreak. Now, when a cholera outbreak happens, you have to start to think for yourself, why is this happening? And it's quite obvious is that the infrastructure is either busy crumbling that side, they are not able to give people clean water, or the service deliveries may be crappy, or maybe they don't have the correct chemicals. But the end story is that the cholera outbreak is because of government collapse, or government degradation, or government not being able to provide services. And when an event like this happens in your administrative capital of South Africa, okay, you have to become extremely concerned. And this video is about how important water is. And if you look at a scenario where a city or a country collapses, one of the very first things that will happen is the water will be gone. Because once your services stop, once your government workers partake in the anarchy or the shit hits the fan scenario, okay, services will cease to exist. And once services cease to exist, one of the very first things to go is water, because water needs to be cleaned. Water needs to be treated, and then water needs to be pumped from location to its end point. And South Africa is quite sad because a place like Pretoria that we're talking about now, they lose about 60% of their water. Okay, they lose 60% of their water via infrastructure collapse because the pipes are bursting. The pipes are old. They are not maintaining the pipes. They haven't maintained it for the last 30 years. So they're effectively losing 60% of their fresh, clean water, literally running down the street into the drain and into the rivers. And there, the water is gone. So water is extremely important. And people always, when they prepare, focus on food, and food is very important. Okay, you can go 3 weeks without water, without food, but you cannot go 3 days without water. So water is actually the key to life. Water is extremely, extremely important. And we can physically see that in South Africa, the water system is busy collapsing. In the major cities, water purification, water transfer because of blackouts. So when blackouts happen, anything between 4 hours and 12 hours a day, we have seen that the reservoirs cannot keep up. We have seen that the water levels and the pressures within your tap inside of these cities, they just cannot keep up. And this is a sign, a physical sign, that something is about to happen in South Africa. So when you are preparing, your first and most important thing is water. You need a way of storage water, you need a way to clean water, you need a way to transfer water, and you possibly, if you are bugging out, you need to make sure that your water source, wherever you are going, is actually clean. And this is one very important thing. You know, one of the major prepper groups in South Africa, they always say, no, don't worry about water. Just get yourself a windmill and a dam in the Karoo somewhere, and you'll be fine. I've seen Karoo dams run dry. I have seen Karoo dams being made filthy by animals. So make sure that wherever you are going towards, that your water, and there's areas in South Africa where these peppers are going, where there's abundance of water. Okay, but all of this water that is going down to that specific areas are also dirty. It's all poop water. Yes, it might be 500-600 kilometers down the river, but it's still poop water. Nothing changes. That poop water needs to be cleaned. So make sure that when you are bugging out and when you are preparing, that you prioritize water. You need to be able to clean water. You need to be able to transfer water, even if it's in 20-liter cans. But you need to be able to work with water, because without water you can do nothing. You can't live as a person without water. You can't plant without water. You can't reproduce animals without water. Clean water is so, so important. And yet again, we've seen in South Africa with the cholera outbreak, and hopefully for these Pretoria people, it's not going to spread within the city, because then there's going to be chaos. So it's a sign. It's a visible sign. You can taste it. You can see it. You can visibly feel that the infrastructure in South Africa is definitely deteriorating, and it's not being fixed and maintained. This is South African Prepper. Guys, please like, share and subscribe, and God bless.